Folks, the time is now. The time is here. We have arrived at the Battle Hub Draft League Season 2, folks. Seems like just yesterday, I tell you what, we were having epic battles versus everybody from Captain Beanard to Scorpion to Raymond. It's absolutely insanio. So, what is going to happen in this Season 2 draft? So, let me tell you right now. Let's go over some things because I forgot. In my UNPL, I just completely forgot to mention all the rules, so I want to make sure to go over the rules. So, of course, we got standard random opponents in the round robin. It's going to be 8 weeks instead of 9 weeks, a little bit shorter than last time. But the top 8 players are going to advance to a single elimination bracket or the playoffs. So, placement is going to be decided by number of wins, pretty obvious, your record, kill differential. Then we got the head-to-head results. Now, normally this is where most draft leagues would stop, but just in case, like last time, we saw that there were some ties. I believe me and Beardo were actually tied for second, I think, or something. I don't know. It was a big tie at the end. So many ties. So we've also got the Pokemon with the most kills to determine placement for seeding in playoffs, and then second most kills, just in case, or it's just gonna keep on going in line. Whoever has the third most kills or whatever, you know what I mean? Just in order to break the tie. So, just to make sure that there's not going to be any ties no matter what. And I guess if all else fails, if for whatever reason all 11 of their Pokemon all have the same exact kill count, then I guess you just play. I don't know what else to say. So, rules for drafting: 100 points versus 110 from last time. So, a little bit cheaper, but that's going to just mean that you have to kind of think more so about what mons you draft. That way you can't just get a bunch of broken ones. From 9 to 11 Pokemon. 16 coaches, same as last time in standard snake draft style. Go from 1 to 16 and 16 back up to 1 and so on until everyone's drafted. And we've got 18 points to choose for Terra Captains, but this time, I can't remember what it was last time. Was it 12? 13? 14? I don't know. Might have been 14 or 15. Big reduction from however much that was to 10 points now. So that's going to mean that you can't have freaking Iron Leaves coming out here and being a Terra Captain. No, you can't have... What was another big one that was out there? Sandy Shocks. No Sandy Shocks going to be Terra Captain this time. So, more so mons that are going to be lower tiered. Still some pretty big ones, though, that could be Terra Captains, but not as big as last time. And, of course, open free Terra. A little bit controversial if you think about it. I feel like if you were to compare it to, like, some of the other draft leagues out there, most of them, you have to either choose your Terra Captains, like 3 of them, and you have to stick with those, or you have to let them know in advance. This league, it's like, bro, just... It's the wild frontier. It could be anything at any point in time. And that's kind of one of those situations where it can benefit you or it can kind of stress you out, as we saw in my Week 8 versus Scorpion. I just glitched out. I didn't know what it was going to be. But that's the situation. So, the draft. So, last time I was roughly 12th or 11th position. Not a great start. Not a great spot for me. I still got pulled, but I would have liked to have a better spot. Especially knowing that now everyone's going to be going after all those high value mons. I wanted to get a seat at the table and be able to get a good Pokemon. So, the notorious HIM got first. Hey, great for them. I'm glad they're going to be able to get a good team. Scorpion got second. I'm like, man, all right. And then Raymond at third. The champion got third. And then Beardo got fourth. I'm like, geez, man. Lionel got fifth, okay. And then your boy got sixth. Not too bad. Obviously not the best spot, but at the very least this meant I was okay. We can get a good, solid Pokemon. I took a look at all the things that were available. Palafin, both Urshifus, Dragapult. I knew I wasn't. I was like, bro, somebody's gonna get Dragapult, and it's not gonna be me. I'll tell you that right now. And what else was there? I mean, the Great Tusks, he got Lando, Garchomp, Baxcalibur, a lot of cool stuff like that. But overall, what I wanted, of course, was Iron Valiant. I was like, bro, if I can get this Iron Valiant, maybe people won't think about it too much. Maybe I can get it at number 6, but I probably won't. I know that Miri or Scorpion are probably going to get it, so I was like, all right, let's go Iron Valiant, either Urshifu, Palafin, Great Tusk, maybe Landorus, and then we'll see what we can get. But I tell you right now, folks, it ended up being that your boy Iron Valiant, one of, if not the best Pokemon in all of draft at this time. So we got right there that 116 base speed, 120, 130 attack. Uh, one of, if not the greatest mixed attackers in the history of Pokemon, in my opinion. Having that fairy fighting type, if it didn't have knockoff before, it has knockoff now. It can Sword Stance, it can Calm Mind. It has Vacuum Wave now, and it has Shadow Sneak. Obviously, we have the Quark Drive, so we can just strap on a booster and have a Choice Scarf at any time. It's got a lot of much more special coverage options like Thunderbolt, Shadow Ball, and stuff like that. And of course, Focus Blast and Vacuum Wave. So overall, I was very glad. I was so surprised that I was able to get this. Actually sniped our boy a Praetor because they definitely wanted this, and they were right after me. And I'll tell you right now, this isn't going to be the last Pokemon we sniped. I'm telling you right now. But was very hyped to get Iron Valiant. So, of course, draft went all the way down to just Weavile Island and back up. And at this point, I was like, okay. I was telling my, by the way, my assistant coach is one of my former opponents from the last season, Rolder. And I was like, buddy, we need a Steel type to pair with this Iron Valiant because that's one of the most common ways of dealing with this thing, like a Scizor or something like that with Bullet Punch can easily take out this Iron Valiant, even though it does have those 90 defenses. If a Steel type was to come in, it could pose a problem. So I was like, what are we gonna do? He was like, brother, have you ever heard of a Pokemon called Heatran? I was like, yo, dog, this is great. What a great Pokemon. I was like, I don't know if we'll be able to get it, though, but we got it. So, Heatran, excellent defensive wall. Also can be used as like a special attacker. It doesn't have Eruption anymore, but it's still very strong with base 130. I could run Flame Body if I wanted to. Bluff the Flash Fire. That's definitely an option, but Flash Fire is always good to have. It's also a big fairy resist too, because Iron Valiant is also weak to itself. It's weak to fairy. So having this as just a switch into so many different things, can get up rocks, can Magma Storm. It doesn't have Toxic anymore, but I wasn't really going to be doing that anyways. Just has a lot of different options. So I was very glad to get Heatran. And so at this point, I was thinking to myself, well, we've got a fire type. Let's start working on the water, fire, grass core. And Rolder was like, buddy, what if I told you that we could complete this core right now with just the third pick? I was like, how do we do that? He was like, have you ever heard of a Pokemon called Ogerpon Wellspring, brother? And I was like, I have, but are we going to be able to get it though? And the answer is yes, of course we are. Of course we are. We might have had to snipe our buddy a Praetor for the second time, but we got it. So, Ogerpon Wellspring. Excellent Pokemon. Another immunity, because now we have both Water Absorb and Flash Fire. Having both of those, I think, is excellent, in my opinion. I don't have the stats for this, because the website I was using to get all the charts for the stats didn't have it, but it's got like base 120 attack and base 110 speed. Also, another fast Pokemon. Great to have. Not to just have like one Pokemon that's like at a decent speed tier. To have a couple of them that can kind of be above 100, I think is good in draft. That way you can force your opponent to have to run more speed. It does have to be forced to hold the mask, which kind of sucks, but it still has a lot of cool options. It has Grassy Glide for one. I don't know if I'll be able to use it, but that's a cool thing to have. Its Ivy Cudgel can crit, or it has an increased crit chance or something like that. And it's a very strong 100% accurate move. It has Horn Leech, Wood Hammer, Spiky Shield come into play. Has SD Trailblaze, so just a lot of cool things. Stomping Tantrum, I believe it gets knockoff if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong with that, but I'm pretty sure. A lot of cool options. And yeah, I was pretty happy to get this thing. So, moving on now to our next Pokemon, I was like, we're gonna need another defensive backbone. If there's one thing I learned from Season 1, it was that having those defensive mons really helped. And I was like, ideally, if we can get a defogger early on, because I remember last time, those rapid spinners and defoggers, they went quick when they were started going for them. So I was like, all right, what's a good defogger that we can have at this point? And I was looking through and I was like, we got one of the best ones that returned in the teal mask, and we got Mandibuzz. I was like, let's freaking go, dude. Because with those defenses and that HP, this is going to pair pretty well with Heatran, because rather than having like a Alolan Muck, which is all Spadef, and well, Tanglu could have gone either way. What was my other wall? Fortress, which is all defense. I figured having both of these guys that I could kind of adjust, and that would have relatively the same defense or Spadef either way. This one obviously has a little bit more defense. Heatran is more so known for being a Spadef wall, even though that has the same defenses. So that worked out pretty well. Has Overcoat, so we can easily switch in Spore or any other type of stun powder, whatever powder that they go for, and be immune to Sandstorm. And I guess if I wanted to run a weak armor set, I could, but I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening. Overcoat is such a good ability to have. Um, the ability to. Also, this thing has knockoff, foul play, U-turn, toxic, still has toxic. Of course, I already mentioned defog. A lot of good options for this thing. Can do a lot of different things, so I was very hyped to get Mandibuzz back. Also, having a dark type, and we needed a flying type for Heatran, helped out a bunch. At this point, I was like, alright, we are a little bit weak to electric. I need to find some way to deal with that. So, my next pick, I decided was going to be Toxtricity. I was like, okay, I've seen the work that Toxtricity can do. If I'm not mistaken, I believe Stefan had it last time. Base 114 special attack with Punk Rock and the ability to Terra because it's only 10 points. I was like, this thing's going to do some damage. I tell you what, right now. We can also use it to Terra defensively. Say I want to become a flying type. I could become a grass type. I could become anything. You know what I mean? So just having this to have all those different options. This thing can run Specs, Scarf, Shift Gear. It has coverage moves like Drain Punch. It can also run Terra Blast. So I don't even necessarily have to run Drain Punch. I can run like Terra Fighting and run Terra Blast Fighting. Though the 98 attack is decent enough that Drain Punch can work with a Shift Gear set. I've run that before. So yeah, Toxtricity overall, just having that grounded poison type, they always say you want to have at least one poison type to be able to switch in to the toxic spikes just in case it's up. That way, your opponent can't just get them up for free. Of course, we have Mandibuzz Defog, and not have to worry about getting poisoned, but just good to have. So, at this point, I was thinking to myself, well, we are a little bit weak to ground. Well, no, I think it's like neutral because the Ogerpon resists Mandibuzz is immune. So at this point, I kind of just wanted things to get spikes up. Well, no, the Ogerpon gets up spikes, but I don't necessarily want to have to run it. So I was like, we need a rapid spinner, and having something that can set up spikes too would be clean. And having a nice electric immunity versus just a resist and Toxtricity is cool. So this way we can have a couple things to resist it. So Toadscruel obviously having the ability Mycelium Might. We don't have to worry about magic balance. We don't have to worry about overcoat on opposing Pokemon. We all saw what this thing did versus me in the finals, so I was like, yo, I'm going to try to use this thing. In addition to that, it's also a bit of a Spadef wall. With that typing, it's not going to take ice attacks particularly well. But it has a decent amount of resist and immunities, so I figured why not. And with base 100 speed, it's going to be able to rapid spin and do what it needs to do. Much better than something like Sand Slash that I was considering drafting. I was like, if I want to be able to rapid spin, better to have something that's decently fast and get the job done. And it also provides toxic spikes too. GlitchxCity does as well, but I don't really run toxic spikes on that. I'd rather run it on this. So that's Toadscrool. So at this point, I was trying to get any other types that I was missing. I've got one overlap at this point, but I wasn't too concerned about that. I was like, if I'm trying to set up these hazards, I need something to spin block. So that's why I picked Frostlass next. The Cursed Body might not come into play that much, but maybe it will. Base 110 speed, another decently fast Pokemon. Trying to force my opponent to worry about the speed tiers. I was mistakenly thinking this thing got freeze dry. It actually doesn't. I was kind of disappointed by that, but it still has priority move and Ice Shard. It has Destiny Bond, has Spikes, has Taunt. A lot of good utility is what I was looking for in this mod. So the ice typing helps out offensively in case I run into like a Garchomp. I mean, this thing's naturally faster than Garchomp. And Lando and Gliscor, a lot of mons like that that might have otherwise walled my team. I can use Frostlass. Just having that ice typing available is always good to have. So at this point, I was kind of realizing, outside of the Iron Valiant and the Ogerpon, well, I have Toxtricity, but I was like, I need something fast and strong that can hit hard. I need some more attackers because I think I realized in Season 1, while the tanks and the walls are good to have, you really need some more stuff other than just Dragapult and Lycanroc to be able to hit hard and be able to do stuff. Like I can use Spectro to mow, but then it's too slow. I can use Scarfro to mow, but then it's not strong enough. So I need something good. So initially, Hoopa was not actually my round 8 pick. It was a transaction, but you'll see why I replaced Indeedee later. Indeedee was my original pick as a nice, powerful psychic type, but I switched it to Hoopa because having that beautiful base 150 special attack, I was like, even if I run a Scarf on this thing, bro, this thing's gonna be hitting super duper goober hard. And base 110 attack is decent too. You know, if I wanted to run a physical sound on Hoopa, I could. Base 130 Spadef and 80 HP is also very good. A nice bulky mon. 70 speed is a little bit lacking, but if I can, like I said, I run a Choice Scarf, if I can do things, run Trick Room with this guy to be able to do well. Hoopa can put in the work, especially after it tears. I've seen Envy put in work with this thing, so I know that I can too, especially since it's free Terra. I mean, shoot, this thing can put in some major work. And I love Hoopa. I remember this was, I don't know why I couldn't get Diancie or Volcanion. I got Hoopa in the event that it came out back in Oras. I don't know why I couldn't get the others, but this was like the only one of the mythicals that I got in my early days of Pokemon. So I've always had an attachment to Hoopa, and I still have my old one chilling that I could use. But knowing me, I'm not going to use it. I'm just going to gen it, folks. Let's be real. I already bred all the mons. I don't have time to continue to breed more every single week. But hey, if you do, more power to you. So at this point, like I said, I had Indeedee, and I had a thought in mind. What if I could use that power to do more than just block priority moves? What if I could use the Unburdened Hawlucha from Captain Beanard's team in Season 1? I also used Hawlucha previously, so this is a returning member actually from the SPC. 118 speed is fast naturally. With the Unburden, I can basically become the fastest thing alive. I just need to make sure to try to account for running, let's say, max speed in case something like a Torterra shows up. Make sure that it can't outspeed me. Make sure I have enough to outspeed it. The Shell Smash Torterra. 92 attack isn't too high, but it's got very strong moves and acrobatics in close combat, especially after an SD. Put in a lot of work. It's not the bulkiest, but the electric seed does boost its defense, and if I'm not running max speed, I have HP investment, so it's a little bit bulkier than you might imagine. Now, it can't Terra. One of the biggest strengths that I had to Captain Beanard's team was the fact it could Terra into anything. So you never knew what it was going to be. It could use it offensively, it could use it defensively, you know what I mean? But because of the fact that it can't Terra, it is going to leave it open to any type of priority attack that, let's say, Aqua Jet or Ice Shard. Ice Shard especially, actually. Accelerock is going to do a fair amount. Can't resist it. It will resist Sucker Punch. Sucker Punch is an important one that it can't hit. Especially also with the fact that with the defense boost, it shouldn't be doing too much, but it does just leave it vulnerable. So I have to try to make sure and play it safely. But between this and Iron Valiant and Hoopa, we should be okay. Now, I have exactly one Pokemon left. And looking at my team, can you guess what that last mon is going to be? Now, of course, I don't have all the types. Let me see. Just running through the list, we have Fairy, Fighting, Steel, Fire, Water, Grass, Dark, Flying, Electric, Poison, Ground. We got our first duplicate there with the Toedscruel. And then we have Ice and Ghost, Psychic and Ghost. So now we're at 14. Hawlucha is just completely doubled up. One of the things I realized from last season was that doubling up on the types, having all 18 doesn't necessarily matter. I was like, I don't need a bug type, in my opinion. If I can accomplish the same thing with a flying or a grass type, I don't particularly need a normal type. If I have a super defensive Mandibuzz that can easily tank some death moves, or if I can Terra into a normal type if I need to take ghost types. I don't particularly need a dragon, because that just leaves me weak to fairy. I can accomplish the same thing with the elemental types, basically. What was the other type? Rock? I don't think I need rock either, I'll be honest. I mean, rock is just a very weak type. So I was like, I feel like I could get by having these types. So, my last Pokemon is going to be another overlap, but I think it's going to be something that really helps out the team. That's right, folks. Pincurchin. I mean, you just look at those first three, the first column right there. It's going to give Quark Drive to Iron Valiant. It's going to boost Toxtricity's overdrives, and it's going to boost Hawlucha with its Unburden with the Electric Seed. It also means that I don't have to worry about Sleep Powder or Spore on any of my other mons. I do have to be careful playing around Toedscruel, but it's not going to matter too much because I control the Electric Terrain. I control when it goes up. I can set up the Spore at the beginning. My opponent tries to do it. Oh, I go Pincurchin, bro. Now you can't do it. This also provides, because I was a little bit worried, not going to lie, about not having enough priority, but I think I'll be okay. Because Iron Valley has Shadow Sneak and Sucker Punch. Frost Ice has Ice Shard. I think I have Shadow Sneak. We have Grassy Glide on the Ogerpon, which is a little bit hard to use, but I think we can use it. And Pincurchin has Sucker Punch. So, between that and having all these fast Pokemon at like base 110, base 116, and having Hawlucha, and of course we're going to have the freaking Quark Drive on Iron Valley and be super fast. So, I feel like this could honestly be my strongest draft team in the history of my drafting. That's just my opinion. You guys can tell me in the comments what you think. Do you guys think that my Season 1 team is stronger, or do you think that my Season 2 team is stronger? Let me know down below. And we're going to be doing a power ranking video with Scorpion and Captain Beanard later on, so be on the lookout for that. It's going to be pretty epic. I can't wait. Alright, that's going to be it for today's video, though. Let me guys know what you think of the team, like I said, in the comments down below. And we'll see you guys in the next either Scarlet and Violet Wi-Fi battle, UNPL video, or BHDL video. Bye-bye.